Will Donald Trump finally be indicted? We're not holding our breath. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the DemCast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Aliza Worthington, and Karoli of crooksandliars.com is with us, but we just can't see her today.
Via
A
audio.
ghostly presence, audio only today.
Yeah. You know, you gotta love connectivity issues, right?
Right, exactly. And it's raining, and so I'm just holding on to the hope that the internet stays on. I don't want to give it anything to crunch, that causes it to come to a screeching halt.
Hear, hear.
I'm drawing a picture of Karoli so we can draw her in.
How's the weather in Baltimore, Aliza? Because we're
City.
just in deluge down here.
Yeah.
It's raining and gray and nasty.
And we're all the
cold.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. So
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
pretty nasty.
yeah. So it has been a couple of weeks since
Oh, and I have a dog.
so we're gonna be hearing some barks from Aliza's new dog and Karoli's dog that she's dog sitting.
Yeah.
And I don't know if my cat probably won't come along, but that's always fun. I love seeing.
It's been a while since we had some dogs interrupting our podcast.
Right, that's
I
right.
know.
A long time.
So,
I know.
you know, it's just kind of back to our roots with the dogs.
Yeah.
We just need to get some babies again. That would be fun.
That would be fun. That would be very fun, as long as we can give them back.
Yes.
Define fun.
As long as it's not your baby, it's fun.
Yeah, all right. So thanks for clarifying.
Okay. You guys get the feeling that I'm just delaying talking about
anything?
Me
too. How am I doing so far, Karoli?
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to
choose.
Oh, I messed up your hair. I'm trying to make it yellow, but it's mixing in with the pencil.
Okay, we really don't feel like talking about that.
All right. I haven't even looked at the notes yet. I'm so bad. Let me go look at the notes. Start.
Should we just kick off with the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and go from there?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even. Did that just happen this afternoon? Did we just learn about that today?
That
feels like a very new thing.
It is a new thing, and it was announced. It happened yesterday, but the FDIC took it over.
Okay.
Basically last night, and moved all the assets to, the insured assets, I should say, to a safe spot, a new bank, and but there's 193. Did I read right that it was 100? It was, yeah. Of uninsured assets.
Yeah.
So
B with a B?
B. Because this is the bank that's like lending to startups in Silicon Valley. And this is the bank that a lot of the Silicon Valley tech companies do business with. And there's a lot of payroll that's supposed to get paid out of this. But FDIC only insures up to $250,000.
Right.
And that's up since the 2008 recession, where
it used to be 100,000.
It was 100. Now it's 250. And I think what I read was only 3% of the FDIC account money was eligible for insurance.
Right. So that's a big, that's a lot of money to basically not be there. So what I read was that they were investing in bonds. So in other words, as the money came in, they would invest it in bonds, which you can't rapidly liquidate, and they had to run on the bank.
Right.
So because everybody in Silicon Valley is getting very nervous about all the layoffs and everything else. So they had to run on the bank, and that's when the FDIC stepped in. I don't know if it can be isolated. I mean, that's the thing. This is like a virus. It's like COVID for banks, right? You want to think that they can just step in and make this, not create a situation where people get nervous and start pulling their money out of banks.
But it's in a way it's like Lehman Brothers. Because
Right.
when that happened, it's like, okay, well, this only affects people who are invested with Lehman Brothers. And no, it brought the whole economy down.
Right.
So
this,
the people who thought they had money in the bank basically do not have money in the bank anymore. Is that what this means?
well, it means, so no, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that there's a liquidity issue. And it does sound like at least they were invested. I mean, unlike 2008, where they were invested in all these crazy, housing mortgage kind of vehicles, it does sound like they were invested in pretty decent bonds.
Yeah,
it's just that there was no liquidity in the bonds that they were, and that's the problem.
Right.
And then it's exasperated by the Fed raising rates and making it hard to borrow.
Right. And this is the part that I want to talk about, because Jerome Powell went to Congress this week and said, well, inflation is still happening and we're going to probably have to raise interest rates more than we thought. And that's what sent the markets crashing.
Right. And then
this week.
This bank
right.
has the run on it.
Right. And so it's like Powell needs to shut the fuck up and stop raising interest rates. I'm sorry. You know what? Inflation indicators went down for 7 months. They went up a little bit this last month, but that was also related to fuel costs. I mean, things that were transitory, not fixed. And it was, to me, irresponsible to go to Congress and say he was going to have to raise interest rates even more. And Elizabeth Warren ripped his heart out, and she should have. I mean, she was right to do it. Like, what employees are you going to tell? Are you going to be okay with putting out of work? Yeah, are you going to tell them or not? I mean, ugh. So this bank failure or takeover, let's not call it a failure. Let's call it an FDIC takeover, because hopefully they're on the ball and they're basically isolating the risk before it spreads to the rest of the banking and market sectors. Right? Is just it's a sign of weakness in the tech sector, and it's a sign of what is happening when the interest rates get raised. I mean, it feels like our economy is just on it balanced on one little tiny needle, and if one thing,
there's all these other indicators that it's really strong.
Right? Yeah, I know. We have jobs report that's great.
Jobs report, which of course made the markets go down again.
I know, because that's what always happens. The market's like, oh no, that means more interest rate increases. So we have a strong job market, and we have people coming back into the jobs market, and then we have this on the other side of things, and it's really confusing, and it makes people nervous. And at a time, by the way, where consumer confidence has actually been really high.
Yeah.
So it's annoying.
It's annoying. And all the other banks, their stock prices went down as a result of Silicon Valley.
Right.
It's everybody worried about they're going, well, maybe there's something wrong with the entire financial sector. And it's just talking about that
has the impact. So what's involved in an FDIC takeover? Like, this is for the layperson when you see banks are FDIC insured.
That means that if something, like if there's a run on the bank,
like something like this happens,
you've got $250,000 or less in your account.
The
government will give that $250,000 to you. You haven't lost $250,000.
Right. And they've announced that, this new bank that will honor the checks that were written on Silicon Valley Bank. And you know, they made all the requisite announcements to calm everything down, but
Right.
but you
Nobody's
know,
home.
well, the
Nobody's
fact
home. Right.
I mean, I don't think it's systemic like it was in 2007, 2008. I
Right,
don't think so,
right.
Yeah.
but I do have to wonder how a bank basically has managed to have 97% of its assets not insured. I mean, and people be okay with that. Like, I
But
mean,
I thought it was. So how is it not insured? This is what I
anything
don't.
over 250,000 is not insured.
so if you're a company, let's say you're a tech company and you have to make your payroll and you are spending $1 million a month
Right.
in payroll. Okay, that money
Only
blue.
250,000 of it is insured.
Right, right.
But
And then you multiply that by hundreds of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what's a bank? I guess a bank isn't supposed to loan more than $250,000 to people. I don't like.
No, it's just that I think that it's reasonable to have a ratio that's a little bit more reasonable than
So what the
3%.
ratio was just absurd. It was
Yeah, it's
90
like
something percent.
97% is not insured, 3% is.
I mean,
I mean, I would, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that the reason that this bank was the go-to bank in Silicon Valley is
It's because
that
it would just
they would
lend to anybody.
lend to
Yeah.
companies that other banks wouldn't lend to.
Right.
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 And this is all the venture capitalist, you
Right.
know, culture of Silicon Valley, which in moderation is a good thing. It encourages innovation, but I felt like the VC culture in Silicon Valley has been out of control for years. So,
Yeah.
you know, we've already had one bubble because of it in 2000 and or I guess 1999, but
Yeah.
you know, and it sounds like we may have another situation. I don't know. I
It's
hope
something
not.
to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So, but in other news, like we were saying, the jobs report was phenomenal. The 310 jobs added, or the 310,000 jobs added, and you know that's great. I would love to know where these jobs are being added because I have a kid who would love to have a job that actually paid a decent wage.
Hospitality. It didn't say that the jobs had good wages. They just said that the jobs
Um,
were added. A lot
yeah.
in hospitality. Hospitality still has a shortage.
Also retail, I guess.
Retail,
Like they didn't lay off after Christmas and stuff, so retail, I guess, is doing well. So.
except that, except that retail chains are still plummeting. I mean, Bed Bath and Beyond is going to be gone, and you
I
know,
think Bed Bath and Beyond will go the way that Pier 1 went, and it'll just be purely online.
yeah,
Because again, that's venture capitalists, and they like pulling these companies out from brick and mortar and putting them online because the
yeah,
brand is still strong.
right. But
So,
there's going to be no place to like feel, touch and feel what you're buying
right.
at a time, you
Yep.
know. And I love online shopping for some items, but sometimes, especially if I'm buying for the house,
Yeah.
I really like to
You want to see
compare
it and feel
shop
it.
in person. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Especially
agree.
with furniture or sheets or something. You want to see
Yeah.
it with your eyes, see it, feel it.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
there's
understand
so
the
many
concept
opportunities.
of buying a car on, without driving it. I know
I did it.
I know you did. I don't understand. I don't understand that. I can't imagine
But
not having a feel for
ridden
it.
in one. I had ridden in one.
Oh, okay. So you had some experience of being inside one.
I'd been
Yeah.
inside it.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, despite what I said all summer long, I ended up buying a Tesla.
You didn't have to tell people.
Well, it feels hypocritical. I still think Elon Musk is a Nazi.
He
I
is.
want to give him my money, but I did want to buy an EV, and I wanted to take advantage of the tax incentive and the IRS it's all in flux and everything. And so the Hyundai, which is the one that had the one besides the Tesla Y that had the best range, the IRS at the time was not, they were not done. They said, well, yeah, we're working it out with Hyundai, which models will qualify.
Yeah.
So no way to know what models.
You needed a car. You needed a car. And they were there on the lot, and you got a good deal.
And it was the day that Elon dropped all those prices so that the cars would qualify for the thing, which is good. We bought it right away, and the following week he started raising the prices again. So I got it for $12,000 less than it was selling the day before. So.
He's such a little punk.
Oh, he's awful. But I do like the car. I like the car. It's really fun to drive.
I've heard that. I've heard that about them. It's okay.
Okay. For those who are saying that it's like a rolling MAGA hat, that could be, but there are zillions of them on the road in California.
Yeah, there have been for years. It's not. You can't that's not the case anymore. It's not.
So anyway, we digress.
Yes, we do.
Yes. It's Friday, and I think like we're
my picture.
Okay.
That's not all going to fit in the little spot where Karoli is. even if I can make that work in editing, because I'm not good at editing. Let's shift a little bit. Did anybody catch any of the footage from yesterday's Jim Jordan-led weaponization of the government hearing?
I did. I'm raising my hand, but you can't see me, but
I caught a little bit of it, and that was about all I can stomach. It's so hard for me to stomach anything of his. Like anything that he, even when he's talking, he doesn't have a normal speaking voice. Even when he's talking normal for him,
voice with him.
It's yelling and it's angry and mean, and I can't stomach it. Somebody was saying they wanted to put something into the record, and he said, I object. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, nobody objects to that. Everybody lets shit in the record. And
no matter how stupid it is, it goes in the record.
That goes in the record. Just fucking let it in the record. Why are you being such a dick? It's
because that's all he knows how to be.
Right. So, and I'm like, I can't even watch this. I can't watch these hearings. But anyway, so
missed like the best part of these hearings.
Well, Dan Goldman, I know there's Dan Goldman and
all the Democrats, they're not putting up with the shit. They are.
I know. I really should have watched. Okay, so tell me. I mean,
I thought Dan Goldman was the best at basically. I mean, he's a lawyer and he's a litigator, right?
Yeah.
So he's obviously knows what he's doing. But so you would guess that if Dan Goldman asked you a question, for example, you might want to think about the fact that he probably already knows the answer to that question, and you should just be truthful about that thing. And
Matt Taibbi and Mark Schellenberger were the people who are being questioned.
And Dan Goldman just made mincemeat out of both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I could. We've had the clips on Crooks and Liars. Go look at them because it's
I did. That's where I saw it because
But it wasn't just Dan Goldman. I mean, Dan Goldman was the best. But
no, it wasn't. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was pretty damn good too, I thought.
Oh, really? I need to see those. I need to watch those.
Plaskett is
I love her. Stacey Plaskett
she's not putting up with any of Jordan's bullshit.
Right.
You had Jerry Connolly in there. He had good questions.
Oh,
I mean, this is a stupid subcommittee.
It is a stupid
best people on it.
Right. And
What is
they're
it, the
really
Committee
good
on
at
the
making.
Weaponization of Government or something? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it is.
Yeah, and instead of looking at Bill Barr,
Right,
and the way he weaponized the government,
right.
Hmm.
they are
And
trying
Trump.
to make it out that the Biden administration with the FBI and stuff are going after conservatives. And so it was, the subject yesterday was the Twitter files. Um,
So they brought Matt Taibbi and Scott
So
Schellenberger.
does am I crazy here, or do we all know that all the stuff they got came from Elon Musk? I
Of
mean, this
course it
is
did. Who
like
else is it going to come from?
Matt Taibbi would not say
he would
that.
not admit that.
Yeah,
I'm like, why? This isn't hard. I remember Elon bragging about it.
yeah.
Like,
But why?
and Taibbi had to agree to the conditions that he would break the news on Twitter and he would do it in a Twitter thread and all these other things because Elon gave him the emails, access to everything. I mean, I remember this. Why is this a big deal? I don't know why it's a big deal, but it
It's
is.
all on, isn't it all like public record? I mean,
No, these were all internal emails from
Yeah.
Twitter.
oh,
And
So
they were
yeah,
cherry picked.
there was a what?
they were cherry picked.
Oh, cherry. Uh huh.
Yeah.
You know,
So, it was like they made it look like there's some kind of suppression of conservative voices, please. Blah, blah.
it's like Tucker Carlson editing the
Oh my
January
God.
6th footage to make it
Oh
look like
God.
it was peaceful.
There's a theme here, guys. Have you
Pictures.
noticed it?
They were just taking pictures. They were they were there in reverence of the Capitol. They
Yeah,
revered.
right. They
The
revered the
QAnon
Capitol.
shaman,
They
you know,
what?
the
Oh, the
QAnon
QAnon shaman. Yeah,
was let in by the cops.
by the cops.
And he was just peacefully looking around.
Yeah, that was just an
No
unfortunate
and
photo.
there's no
Yeah,
reason for him to be in jail right now.
that's right. He's being. Isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene like organizing a trip for
Yes.
GOP
Yes.
representatives to go visit them in
Yes, so
jail?
they can pretend that they're martyrs. And today, like they're Trevor McFadden, who's a judge that as the only one that's acquitted any defendant at all,
Yeah.
and is known for kind of being lenient on sentences, came down hard
Oh yeah.
on one of the guys that was hitting cops and stuff, and
Good,
basically gave him 5 years solid
Oh
in
good.
prison. So
good.
yeah, and so, but please tell me more about how they revered the Capitol and
Yeah.
respected.
And how they back the blue.
I mean, that Tucker
Feasting
Carlson
all.
segment was one of the most cynical things I have ever seen from the right wing, ever, ever. There
I
there
mean,
was
leave it to him to it's and it backfired on him. Like,
good,
Well, in the same week where we've all seen his internal emails with
right.
about Trump.
mhm,
Yeah, I mean that's what drove home how cynical this was. He's
Yeah.
sitting there saying, January 6th was, peaceful protesters, people. At one point he says there can be no question that people had something to be upset about. And that wasn't his exact words. His exact words intimated that the election had been stolen, right?
Right.
And then you look at his emails, and in his emails, he's like, I hate Donald Trump,
Yeah, with a
and
passion.
these people are nuts, and and everything. That's what made this whole January 6th whitewashing so utterly cynical, was that he knew he was bullshitting. He knew that there was nothing there. What was he thinking he was going to do with that? I don't I
but it
Why?
doesn't matter because that audience doesn't look at any other news media
Right.
except maybe OAN and Newsmax
Right. I know, which is
or
pathetic.
Bannon's podcast
So then
Right.
why does he do so much to elevate Trump's point of view? That's what I don't get. I mean,
because they're terrified.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I'm sure on high, the executives on high basically told him, we need to get these viewers back, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do
Right.
it by, sympathizing with the January 6th defendants. And I don't know. I
Because
mean, the whole thing is
we also saw how scared they got and how pissed off they got at the Arizona call.
Right, right. I mean, I understand that, but I mean, he's right. I don't understand why he hates Trump so much, because he's right there with him on the races. He like agrees with him on everything. He's
well,
every
it makes you wonder. I mean, there's been some analysis of that
yeah,
this week on cable, but I don't know if I agree with it or not. But it makes you wonder how much of this is an act.
yeah.
In
Right.
other words, this is basically, him putting on the Tucker Carlson racist character and rolling, onto the air to serve the Trump-loving racists who
Mm,
watch Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
In fact, the only one who seems to be a true believer is Bartiromo, who appears to be a total loon.
I mean, the thing that's so wild about that is that, I mean, even Tim will tell you, she was a respected
She was.
financial reporter,
40
Yeah.
years.
right? And
She
now
was on CNN, or where was she? Where was she before this? She was
CNBC.
CNBC. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I remember her from that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And now she's a loon. I mean, and she believes this stuff. She was the only one in those emails that actually believed this shit. And let me tell you, that stuff is just bullshit. What I mean, like most of what Sidney Powell was hawking came from a woman who claimed that she had been killed and was walking in the fog or something. I
Oh,
mean, it was.
oh, oh. Oh, did you guys read the interview with that woman? The
I
no.
Daily
did.
got hold of her. And I
Who
mean,
got hold of her?
she makes Marianne Williamson
Look sane.
look like
Yeah.
Jerome Powell. I mean,
Yeah. And I mean, this is like, so some wackaloon comes out clean off the street to to Sidney Powell and says, "I've seen these things. I know they're fact." And
right.
then Sidney Powell shops that to Maria Bartiromo, who says, "Okay, we'll run with that." I mean, I'm just like, right? Wow.
I mean, you could not write a dark comedy like this where the audience would say, "How could that happen?" You know?
Right.
And yet,
Oh my
And yet,
God.
I know. And I mean, it took me a while to find um, the actual documents that came from Fox News. But once I did, I was just like, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I mean, it was just like page after page. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was
there's
like,
still a bunch of stuff that's been redacted.
yeah, I'd love to.
We
I
don't
really
know what
want.
Fox has asked them not to release,
Oh my God. It has to be really bad if Fox wants them not to release it.
Right? I
Oh my
know.
God.
I'd love to know what is not shown right now,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what is so. And I will say, I'll use the word shocking only because you can kind of know something in your gut,
Yeah.
right? And like you can say this all day long, but seeing it in black and white and seeing, for example, the contempt that the opinion hosts had for the news side,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they've just
Really?
and then you see, and there's an email from supposed straight news Brett Baer begging them to rescind the Arizona call because he's getting so much negative feedback from the audience.
Yeah.
And you're just like, there's no morals. There's
There's
just
no daylight.
no.
I mean,
Right.
no.
Exactly.
Well,
There is no straight news.
we
Oh,
have
sorry.
seen what their audience will do when riled up.
Yep. What they'll tolerate and what they'll.
We have seen them foment an insurrection. We are seeing low grade fascism all around us. We are seeing there was another kidnapping plot on Gretchen Whitmer. or a terrorist plot or whatever. That came out today. That was unsealed today. You know, it is all around us. It is frightening. DeSantis is
Oh my God, him and his Nazis.
You know,
the Nazis love DeSantis, don't they?
Well,
yeah.
Did you see that footage of them with the Nazi flags and the welcome to Florida and the did you see those, Donna?
Not see that. I'm glad I didn't, because that would give me more nightmares than I already am having.
Yeah. Then I won't send it to you.
I did see Casey DeSantis all dolled up for a prom queen for the State of the State address. It was
Can
daytime.
somebody explain the gloves in Florida? I mean, the pink dress was bad enough, but she had the pink dress with the elbow high white gloves on in broad daylight in Florida.
According to
Like,
Vogue, opera gloves are back in, but what they
right?
showed in Vogue was like very artsy. It was not the white 1950s Breakfast at Tiffany's look.
Gosh,
right.
and I gave my opera gloves away. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh.
I probably have some in my mom's trunk I could lend you.
Because I could use it. I'll wear them on the next podcast. We all need to find our opera gloves.
Well, I had to give away my mom's because she was so much tinier than me.
Oh,
So
I don't know, Donna. You might not want to wear opera gloves this week anyway. Given
that's true.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice what's on your arm, and I wanted to ask about it, but I didn't want to be accused of further digressing since I've already digressed with my artwork.
Oh, you did not know. You did not know that I bust my elbow on the weekend.
I did not know. I did not know. I'm not happy.
It happened when we were in New York together.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad it didn't happen then. Oh, goodness. But yeah.
It's a cast or a temporary type cast. And anyway, we died.
So Ron DeSantis is in Iowa.
Yes.
And he's wooing the Iowa voters who will not be voting in the first Democratic primary, because we're not doing Iowa as the first one. And rightly so. But anyway, they're all there, right? I mean, Mike Pence is there, Ron DeSantis is there, and everything. And voters are about to find out that Ron DeSantis is really not a nice man, and he's not a people man. He's not, he's not a retail politician on any level. The only reason he got reelected in Florida the way he did, well, I would say there's two reasons. Number one, Floridians are being poisoned systematically by right-wing infusions, I mean, everywhere in Florida. Like, it's RNC headquarters are in Florida, Trump's in Florida. Ugh. Anyway, I think that's part of it. And part of it was that he, basically defied the COVID rules and opened everything up. So the state did pretty well economically. People got their jobs back faster than other people did in other states.
The ones who didn't die of COVID.
Right.
Right.
Right. And, I just want to, if I can just have a personal moment here, I just saw some dude on Twitter who's like some, I don't know, right-wing anti-mask guy who claims to have a medical background say, I challenge this person in first class to take her mask off because they don't work.
Oh my
and
God.
why can't you just leave her the fuck alone?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody needs you in their face about their mask.
Right.
That's all.
Right. Why that insult? Why does that offend you so much?
Right.
How does it impact you at all?
Right. Right.
Yeah. It just pissed me off mostly because I'm flying on Sunday and I will be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And we flew back and forth to New York and we wore masks.
Thank you.
We did.
So I don't know why this is such a big deal, but I don't want anybody in my face challenging me to take my mask off in an airplane. Anyway, that it's just that little digression. Not that he'll ever hear me.
I would take my mask off to spit on him.
Yeah.
There, I took my mask off.
Yeah, don't do that on a plane, though. The
No.
flight
Yeah,
attendants have enough problems with crazy people on planes.
yeah, that no shit. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. We have fascism. So the right wing fascists they're definitely making a lot of noise,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that they're hitting the right notes. I mean, I there's a study this week that basically showed that most people like the word woke.
Yes.
Right? I mean, they don't see that as a problem, wokeness. Now, if you ask them about some policies, they might not like all the policies, but the word woke, I mean, is basically not doing a damn thing for the Republican Party right now. And that's good. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think in other words, I mean, I think there's a lot of noise going on and a lot of media attention on this stuff and rightly so, but I don't know that it's playing well with the average fall in line Republican voter.
I think, yeah. It, I hope that's so, because when you complain about wokeness, what you're doing is complaining about um, diversity, and you're complaining about anti-racism. You're
Mhm.
saying, boy, I wish I didn't have to stop being a racist pig.
You're
Yeah,
talking about
exactly.
It comes through.
you're
And
talking about values that we used to cherish in this
yeah,
country,
yeah.
Right.
you know?
Uh, Depends.
Well, on a
Well,
general level.
Some people used to, cherish. Some people systematically and systemically in this country, those values weren't
True,
prioritized.
true. But
And
but
a lot of people are, when they complain about being woke, they're pissed they can't be openly racist anymore. That's what's, an openly sexist and bigoted, and they can't be openly mean to gay people, and openly mean to fat people anymore. Although I'd say that last one is something, people still, it's a fairly sanctioned societal
oh, it's totally
bigoted.
sanctioned.
Yeah. But that's really, and I'm happy to hear, because I still hear people complaining about it, and I felt like it still gets a lot of play. So I'm surprised to hear that, even that with mainstream Republicans, that it's not, that wokeness isn't the scarlet letter that they're trying to make it.
yeah, it's not. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
that would which is what I thought was interesting. I mean, it was like a huge majority actually,
Yeah,
like a lot.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So, yeah, so I mean, that's good, but if you cut through the noise and the culture wars, what they're trying to do right now is what we really have to focus on, I think, for 2024, which is, like there's three things going together. So we have the debt ceiling coming up, and then Biden introduced his budget, and they have not introduced their budget, but they're all of them, with the exception of Trump, are talking about cuts to Social Security and Medicare after they said, "Oh, not us. We don't want cuts to." I feel like playing that State of the Union
Go to
address
the union.
video every time somebody says they want to raise the Social
They
Security
want to mess
retirement
with
age,
it. Yeah.
which is a huge cut. And
Yes.
and and they sneer this out. They say, "Well, we know that we can't do it for people that are already getting it." Like, by the way, the people that are already getting it or almost eligible to get it are already cut, right? They got their cuts back in 1980s
Right,
in
Yeah.
86 when
right,
Reagan's Tax Reform Act got passed.
right.
So we don't want to mess with them, but we want our young people to know that they're not getting theirs until
Until
whenever
they're
they decide the
70.
retirement age. Huh?
Nikki Haley yesterday campaigned on 70,
Hmm.
and someone on Twitter pointed out
Who
that
campaigned on 70? I'm sorry.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley,
Yeah.
and someone on Twitter pointed out that, between Sarah Huckabee Sanders okaying, getting rid of child labor laws in Arkansas,
Right.
Nikki Haley talking about, you don't get to retire till you're 70. They're talking about, Americans working for slave wages from the
Right.
time they're children
Yeah.
until they're 70,
Mhm.
right?
Well, if you can even work that long, right? Because
Right,
usually around age 50, your employer dumps you because they don't want to pay for your health insurance and other
right,
stuff like that. So
right.
Right, and your
once
You're
you're,
not
salary is too
eligible for
high.
Medicare yet, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So
you're
once you're 50, you're basically sent to the trash heap to figure out how you're going to live the next few years until you are eligible for retirement and Social Security. So that's how things are now, and I don't see it getting any better in the future. And so, and I just like to keep in mind that none of this is necessary. There's no need to cut anything at
no,
all,
there's
which is
not.
what Biden's budget actually puts forth, is that you don't need to cut anything, just make people that are like in the top 1% of earners pay a little bit more in taxes.
Yeah, like actually
And
pay what they owe.
get rid of the Trump tax cut,
Yep.
yeah,
you know? Get rid of
and I
that, restructure, get rid of the cap on Social Security, so
or at
that
least cap it higher if you
right,
don't, I
right.
mean, there is an
Lots of
argument,
things they can do. There's lots of ways they
right?
can raise the revenue
Right. I mean, one of the
without
reasons I just want to make clear that you don't want to like get rid of the cap entirely, because the cap is also what your wages are based on for your benefit.
I
So
see.
in so you don't want people that are making millions to have any benefit accrued on that.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
That makes sense.
Okay. So, but I mean, there's yes, like you said, there's lots of ways, and they're lying about Social Security being insolvent because Social Security was like, so just a little tiny history lesson. Social Security was a pay-as-you-go program. It was never like a traditional pension where you pay off the liabilities over 10 or 30 years. It was pay as you go. Whatever liabilities were, they got paid. And then there was some attempt to change that so that there would be a trust fund, and that was part of what the Tax Reform Act of '86 also did. Was it increased the retirement age, but it also created a trust fund, and that trust fund has a $2 trillion surplus in it. At some point, that surplus will be exhausted, and at that point, it'll be pay as you go again. So that's why there's all this talk about this right now.
But
Right.
there's also the attraction of the trust fund to Wall Street, who would
Oh
love to
God,
get their hands on it and
no.
make fees, earn their fees on investing. And that's why you keep seeing
Wait,
I
I don't you lost me on that one.
okay.
I do not understand
There is a
your word.
trust fund with all
I mean,
this.
I understand the trust fund that has is worth trillions.
Remember when
What does Wall Street have to do with it?
remember when W tried to privatize Social Security? They keep floating these ideas where
Yeah.
instead of it going into a government managed trust fund,
Yeah.
that we could all manage it ourselves like a 401k, that we would be responsible for that.
Okay.
So
With
it's shifting the risk from the
yeah,
government to the individual.
right.
Okay.
It's a
And
bad idea.
Which
it's a
sounds dangerous.
bad, of course it's dangerous.
Okay.
And because then it's going to be dependent on the whims of the stock market.
Okay, got
Right.
it.
I saw something on one of these problem solver caucus groups where they say, yes, everything's on the table, and the Republicans have an interesting idea with
Uh-huh.
uh, self-managing, retirement funds, and it's like, no,
No,
Yeah.
no.
no.
Yeah.
And
So
then
this was why I started blogging in 2005.
Okay.
This was why. I mean, I was a retirement plan administrator. I understand how these things work. I understand what happened to defined benefit plans when they switched them all to 401ks.
Mhm.
And it just it a lot of people really got screwed in their retirement. And every time the market does something like, 2008 or 1999 or whatever, the risk goes onto the employee and not onto the employer where it
Yeah.
belongs.
Right.
So there's no way I'm going to let Social Security do that. So when W decided he was going to do that, that was why I I started blogging.
Yeah.
That was my
That,
primary reason.
yeah.
So and and it worked. I mean, we actually did put enough pressure, and it was a bad enough idea that he had to back down on it, and we're going to have to do it again because they're
Yeah.
going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying to do it.
Right. Right. And we should probably also add that while Social Security is solvent, there is a problem with Medicare.
Well,
Financial.
but again, Medicare is also a pay-as-you-go program, so it's a problem only to the extent that, yeah, some taxes might have to be raised to pay for Medicare,
Right.
but, they should be anyway.
Yes.
So, I mean, that one of the fallacies is when people say, "I paid for this, I mean, yes, you did pay for it, but you didn't pay for all of it,
No.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna get more out than you put in. That's
Right.
how it works.
Right. Right.
So,
So I started paying into Social Security when I got my first paying job at
Yeah.
16,
A long time ago.
1972,
yeah, me too.
and what I am getting now as my benefit
Yeah.
is, much more than what I would have gotten if I had turned 65 back then, 1972.
Right.
Right. Indeed. So, I mean, this is gonna be for all of their strong denials about no cuts, they really wanna cut people's Social Security and Medicare. They really wanna gut it. So, that has to be front and center, and Biden is doing a great job of
Yeah.
drawing in a contrast between Democrats who wanna preserve it and expand it,
Yeah.
and Republicans who really wanna cut it until it dies, right? Until it's just meaningless.
Right.
He's hammering them
So,
on that. It's so good.
he
Because and I think that State of the Union moment should be nearly every Democrat's, in every Democrat's campaign ad,
Yep. We should keep running.
absolutely. Yeah.
including Biden's. It's and add to that the fact that this our generation is the first generation where we're expected to live where our lifespan is actually shorter
That's right.
than the one before us.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I didn't wait till I'm 70 to start taking my Social
Yeah.
Security.
Same.
This is
I don't know if I'm gonna live to 70.
right. No, don't. I'm not waiting till I'm 70 for my Social Security.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the idea that they're going around Iowa trying to sell this is just mind blowing to me. I don't think it's going to fly. I really don't. I
And
mean, does anybody remember when the Affordable Care Act was in the process of going through Congress and all those wingers were out there with their "Keep your hands off my Medicare" sign?
yeah,
Yes. But that is also the thing. There was a legislator, I guess, a state legislator in West Virginia yesterday, who was
mhm.
complaining about people just sitting on their ass and earning $73,000 a year on unemployment between the unemployment and the possible medical benefits that they were getting as a family of four.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
This
do
is
they?
West Virginia.
And
Oh
and
Right.
God.
we're paying them to just sit on their ass. And medical benefits are not the same as salary, and it's
No,
particularly
medical benefits
medical
don't put
benefits.
food on your table,
Right.
and they don't pay the bank for your mortgage.
Right. Right, and if somebody is earning that much on unemployment, they must have been earning a good salary before.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And if
it's
they have a
something.
family of 4,
Yeah,
they have to feed them
that's right.
and clothe them, and maybe they're
This is
babies,
the
and maybe
mindset.
they go through diapers,
This
and
is
maybe
the mindset. You know,
It is,
you are
it's
freeloading by taking your benefits that you earned.
seriously. And how many of them got PPP loans during COVID?
Oh, right, exactly.
Well, we're going to forget about that, aren't we?
Yeah, they are.
Speaking of babies, should we mention that Lauren Boebert's going to be a Mima?
Oh, that's
feel
so sweet.
Oh.
She's only 36.
I feel really bad for her future daughter-in-law or whatever this
I don't think that's happening.
I don't feel
the
bad
girl
for
is
her.
15. I do.
I mean,
She's 15 years old.
I don't know the kid. Maybe whatever. I don't know.
Kids are going
But if she's hanging out with the likes of the Boeberts.
Well, who knows what the
But
situation.
she's also 15 and she's a girl, she's a child in a conservative, a conservative world where she has very clearly has been shown very few options.
Right.
And whatever. So she's going to have a baby, and that's okay, because the last thing I want to do is stigmatize, number one, having a child out of wedlock, because I don't do that. I don't stigmatize people who do that. Number two, I don't, I also don't believe that having a child at a very young age automatically means you're going to be a bad mother. I believe that Lauren Boebert's a bad mother.
Yes.
I believe that any child that's born into a family that has to associate with Boebert is going to have to overcome a lot of obstacles. But I'm not going to stigmatize a 15-year-old mom,
right,
or their kid, and say, because that happens, and a lot of good can come from those situations. I mean, I know people who were teen moms and raised beautiful families and
right.
have no, they don't deserve to be spoken about,
And that's why I
in
was
any
saying
kind of derogatory terms.
I
Right.
feel bad for the girl because, statistically, she won't get to finish high school, just like
maybe,
Boebert.
maybe she won't. Maybe she won't. Maybe she will. I don't know. But I mean, in terms of her choice of a boyfriend, I got to side eye that. But whatever. I wish her luck.
Yeah.
I wish her and the baby luck.
Well,
I don't think the Boeberts stand a chance in hell. I have nothing but negative, disgusting thoughts for the Boeberts.
Well,
but let's hope she keeps the baby away from Peepaw.
Well, yeah, exactly. I actually, the other concern I have, and believe me, this was more of a commentary on Lauren Boebert than it is on this girl whose boyfriend, did what he did. They did what they did. But, 15 is very young to be having a baby.
Of course.
And I mean, she's at risk health-wise.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me. And,
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, but yeah, it's.
No, there can be.
She's 16 now, isn't she?
16.
I heard she was still 15, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully she'll have, she'll be healthy and stay healthy. This is all speculation at this point, but
Well, I guess my point is that she didn't really have any options. Right? Because I mean, can you imagine being 15, being pregnant, and the kid that got you pregnant is the son of a congresswoman, your congresswoman, right, who is so adamantly against abortion that you don't even have that as an option, not even as a possibility.
Well, but here's the thing. How many adamantly against abortion politicians have either had abortions or provided them for their mistresses or spouses? Tons of them.
Well,
so I don't even assume that this girl didn't have that as an option. I can't assume that.
I
How
can.
many abortions has Trump paid for? How many abortions has, if she found out she was pregnant, she's in Colorado?
No.
Maybe, like, I don't know that, Colorado isn't, I don't know what their, who their governor is right now. I don't know what the
Jared
situation.
Polis, he's a Democrat, but
Yeah. So, I mean, I would think she actually has a pretty decent access to abortion right now.
She's a child.
But she's a child, like, again,
Minor. We don't know what her family is like.
we don't know, again, if she's
Ideologically, they're probably in the same boat.
right.
yeah.
So, but I just don't assume, because, like, they're such hypocrites. These people are such fucking hypocrites.
Well, they're not being hypocrites because they're having the baby.
No, I know that's
Right.
but what I'm trying to say is that they don't care about being hypocrites. They're such hypocrites that I could see them saying, don't embarrass me by getting this girl pregnant and she's going to go have an abortion. Like, because
that didn't happen. So.
I know. I'm just saying, like, that, but that does happen. We know that happens. We know there are tons of male politicians who rail against abortions, but they don't think twice. When they get their girlfriends pregnant, they make them have an abortion because they don't want their wife to find out. Because they're afraid it'll hurt their career. Right. So, I mean, this is bad for Boebert's career no matter what, right? Because their son's having a baby out of wedlock. They had sex, not being married. She's going to be a 36-year-old grandmother. That looks like nobody thinks that's a good thing.
I disagree with you. I think that the people,
her constituency will love it. They'll eat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're okay with sex outside marriage and shit.
He's walking the walk.
All right, guys.
They'll forgive it.
Only regarding abortion. Everything else?
Yeah. No, I mean, they'll excuse it. They'll forgive it because it'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who are appalled by it were the ones who were already appalled by it for so many reasons.
Right. Yeah, for the right reasons,
Right. I mean, I just wish I feel sorry for that girl. Her life will be forever changed. Forever changed.
Well, yeah, because now she's I guess I changed my position. I feel sorry for her because she's now forever tied legally to this family, to this insane Boebert family. And there's nothing she can do about that if she somehow wakes up or decides. And if she is happy to be tied to this insane Boebert family, then I don't feel sorry for her. And fuck her. No pun intended. She got what she wanted. She's,
well,
she wants to be tied to them forever. Then now she is.
Why don't we, in our last...
I'm sorry. I'm not very forgiving.
Why? Well, I can't say anything bad about a kid in bad circumstances.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So I would like to move on in our last couple of minutes to do a shout out to California Governor Gavin Newsom. Who continues to walk his walk.
Yay.
And when we found out last week or was it this week, that Walgreens was not going to fill legal prescriptions in 21 states where medical abortions were still legal. Yeah. They said, no, we're not going to even carry it in our pharmacies. And Gavin Newsom canceled a $54 million contract with Walgreens. Walgreens will no longer be able to do business with California as long as they buckle down to red state AGs like Chris Kobach, who is, trying to tell them not to dispense this medication, even though it is legal in Kansas.
Yep. So he gets the governor of the week.
He really does. And did Walgreens kind of try to walk it back a little bit?
It was BS.
It was BS. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about, we'll dispense it as long as we get the FDA approval to do it. And that doesn't make any sense to me at all because the FDA approved this medication.
I was going to say, isn't it already approved? Because it's been being dispensed for years.
Yeah. So I don't understand that at all.
I don't either.
Well, there was the threat was basically that states that have barred it would sue states that hadn't.
Right.
So that was the threat.
Hmm.
And it was a bogus threat. I mean, Donna's right. It was bullshit.
Right.
But they'd probably take it to the Supreme Court or whatever and let them. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just glad that Gavin Newsom didn't play that game and just basically said, "Fine, we're done."
And speaking of done, that is
Mhm.
our show.
Oh,
Join
gee, we never got to the weekend of hate.
join us next week on MOMocrats@buzzsprout.com or on your favorite podcast service
Hi,
such as
Karoli.
iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates, maybe even including photos of how we spent our weekend of hate. Is Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington, and we're saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the DemCast family of podcasts.